Hey guys, Christine here from Portable Entrepreneur. Let's talk about how to actually get a client to divulge their number, to give you their budget so you have something to work with. Now, today we're going to be looking at 5 ways you can actually ask a client for their budget so they give you that number. Now, I know as a provider, it can feel uncomfortable to ask a client, hey, what's your budget? Because after all, you don't go up to a new neighbor, a new friend, a new colleague, a new acquaintance, and just start talking about their finances. You just don't do that. It's uncomfortable. So it can feel that same way with a client, but this is an entirely different relationship, and it's really based on finances. This is about their business. It's about their growth. And the amount of money that they have allotted for this work is really going to equal the amount of value that you are able to provide. So this is a very, very important question to ask. And it's also going to help qualify the client early on so you know if this is someone you should even continue talking to and that you'll want to work with. Now, on the flip side, for our client, when you ask, hey, what's your budget? It can feel uncomfortable for them too. They may have had bad experiences, and sometimes they feel that if they do actually give you their real budget, and it's actually a legit number you could work with, that your quote somehow is going to magically match that number that they've given you. So they want you to give them a number first. And then that way, if you give them a number, they can give you a number, and then it feels like a negotiation, which this is not a negotiation. So this is why we want to get a client to divulge what their budget is so we really know what it is that we're working with and how much we're going to be able to help them. But because some clients can feel uncomfortable when you ask them, what is your budget? You can get responses like this. Now, this is why we want to bring this question up rather early in a conversation. This gets rid of all the tire kickers and the time wasters and the people who are solely shopping on price. So let's look at the 5 ways that you can ask a client for their budget. Now, number 1, which is what you've been doing, and that is asking a client directly, what is your budget? But you see, you have to ask this with confidence. If you're coming in and saying, how much have you allotted for this? How much money would you like to spend? Do you have a budget for this? And just kind of doing it in a passive way, like, I'm afraid to ask you this question. Well, they're not going to feel any more comfortable than you are in divulging that number. So rather, make sure that you are asking this question just as you would any question that has nothing to do with money. And make sure that you ask it with confidence, even if you don't feel that confident in asking it. You may have to practice this. You may have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask this question so you can see how it comes across, even if you're asking the question over the phone, because how you appear, even if you're standing up tall and you're talking very firmly, it comes across the same way on the phone. So ask as if you are in person. But it comes across very differently if you have a client, you're talking about it, and you say, it sounds like what you are after here, if I have this correctly, is that you would like to achieve X, Y, and Z in your business, which is why you are looking to start this service, this month or right now. So what budget have you allotted to make these results happen? So you see the question flows and it's asked in confidence. It's very different. Now, if a client responds with silence, if they respond with a hesitation, some ums, or they're not sure, they're kind of just sitting on that question, just remain quiet. Just keep silent and allow them to work through that. They're going to feel awkward with the silence. Likely you will too, but that's okay. Just stay quiet and allow them to work through that until they're actually able to give you a number. You may have to stay quiet a little bit longer. It may only be 20 seconds or 30 seconds. And even though it'll probably feel like a month, it's not that long. So just allow them to work through that if they need to get you an actual number. Now, if that's not working, let's look at some other options that you can do. The second way that you can ask a client for their budget is to give them a range. So this would be a range of your prices. What is the absolute lowest that you would price a project and feel perfectly comfortable with? And what is the absolute highest that you would go? So the numbers here don't matter. This is really just the strategy. You can plug in whatever numbers. So for instance, if the lowest you would ever price a project would be $1,000 and the highest would be $5,000. So you would say our projects typically range between $1,000 and $5,000. Or our projects typically range between $5,000 and $15,000 or $10,000 and $20,000. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. You can put in your own numbers. But giving them that range, you will then be able to get some immediate feedback. They'll either say, okay, that sounds good, and you know you have a range to play with, or they're going to say, oh, okay, well, I was more towards the $5,000 range than the $15,000 range. And then you know what you're working with. Now, the next option, the third option that you can use to ask a client for their budget is to give your highest price. So again, the number doesn't matter whether you have a high price of $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, but you tell them what your highest price is. Okay, well, our packages or our projects, our sites, or whatever it is you're offering, they range up to about $15,000. Then they'll say, whoa, okay, I was thinking more like 2,000. I was thinking more like 5,000, 10,000. Or they'll just say, okay, that sounds good. And you'll get that immediate feedback. You see, when you give them a range or you give them a high price, if the high price is too much for them, they're going to bring you back down very quickly to what their range is, and then you have their budget. Now, if you still can't get the budget, another thing that you can do is dive into the actual math here. You can get into the numbers. Now, some clients, they just don't know their business numbers, or they really haven't calculated this out, so they don't understand. So what you can do as your fourth option is to find out what their customer value is. So if a client, their business has a customer value of $1,000. Okay. Every time they get a new client, that client is worth $1,000 to them, whether it's a one-time payment they get or that's a series of payments over the lifetime of a customer, it's worth $1,000. And they know that, let's say you can get 10 new clients for them every month. Well, that is $10,000 of revenue coming into their business. And you can ask them, if we were able to bring in $10,000 of new business to you every month, what would that do for your business? What would this mean for their business? You see, this really keeps the conversation on the value, and it's asking them to dream a little bit, to think about, if I actually had X number of dollars of additional revenue every single month, what is going to change in the business? How is that going to impact my personal life? What is this going to do? So then they start to understand really the impact that your work can have and the value of that work. But you're able to see, based on the customer value and based on the type of work that you're providing, just how many customers you may be able to bring in through the work. Now, of course, they got to do their job. They have to actually close deals and all of that. But you can bring in them a certain number of leads into their business through your work. So that is going to help really reverse engineer what price is going to make sense based on the revenue they're getting. So if you're pricing a package at $2,000, at $3,000, they're getting $10,000 of value out of that per month. Well, shouldn't that be a no-brainer? So that can really help. Now, the fifth way to ask a client for their budget is to ask them, how much revenue do you want this work to bring to your business? So if they're looking at web design, SEO, Facebook marketing, the Facebook ads, the email marketing, whatever the services that you want to provide or you believe is going to add the most value to their business, ask them, how much revenue would you like to see this type of work bring into your business? Because no business wants just the work done. They want the leads, the customers and sales that are going to come from the work that you are delivering. So this is why I really like these last couple of options and asking about the budget. Because not only are you going to find out how much they have allotted for their budget, you're also going to find out what the true value is. What do they want out of this to make sure that this is something that you can deliver? And that way you're going to keep the conversation around the results that matter most in this conversation and in closing this deal. So find out how much revenue they want and ask them how much they're willing to pay for the results, or give them the number. So it sounds like it would make sense to invest in this that would cost X number of dollars if this is going to generate X number of dollars of revenue. Don't you agree? And so how you're phrasing this is different than simply, what is your budget? So there you have it. Those are 5 ways that you can get a little more creative and start asking a client for their budget. So you actually get their number and at the same time can start talking about value, about outcome and results, and start getting more clients. All right, I hope this was helpful. Let me know how this goes for you. Don't hesitate to drop a comment below. I would love to hear what option you want to try out on your next prospect that you have coming into your business. And if you'd like more videos like this, then please consider subscribing and I'll send you some new ones. Take care. Until next time.